Hello there! I was just telling my little friend here a story about how I met my very first friend. Would you like to hear it? Alright. This story is called Rapunzel Finds a Friend. Long before I knew I was a princess, I was a lonely little girl. I had lived in a tower all my life and had never gone outside. Every day I wished that I had a friend who would play with me. My caregiver, Mother Gothel, often left me alone in the tower for days. The only creatures that flew past my tower were butterflies and bees, and sometimes a lost bird. One morning, I saw a butterfly pass my window. I tried to get the butterfly to stay and play, but the butterfly would not come near me. Then, I spotted a bee. I tried to give it a hug. Maybe the bee would want to be my new friend. But the bee buzzed angrily and flew off. Just then, I saw two birds fly past my window. I ran to grab some birdseed, but by the time I got back to the window to give it to them, they had flown away. I was very disappointed. It was going to be another lonely day without any friends. So I turned to one of my favorite ways to pass the time. Setting up a new canvas on my easel, I gathered my art supplies. Looking at a basket of fruit on the table, I started to paint. But when I was done, I didn't like the way my painting had turned out. Frustrated, I set down my brushes. Now what? I thought. I wandered into the kitchen and looked around at the ingredients in my pantry. I decided to make a cake. I whisked and mixed everything together. Placing the pan in the oven, I waited for it to be done. But I didn't realize how hot the oven was. Instead of turning out a golden brown cake, the cake came out burned. I sat at the table sadly. Now what was I going to do? My gaze fell on a packet of strawberry seeds. I'll plant the strawberries and have berries for dessert, I thought excitedly. I grabbed a pot and some soil and carefully buried the seeds. I patted them down with my shovel and picked up my watering can. Then I gave the seeds a nice, long drink. Then I waited for the seeds to sprout, but nothing happened. This is the worst day ever, I complained, lying down on the floor. I can't paint, I can't bake, and I can't even grow one single strawberry. Just then, I noticed a strange pattern in a pile of dirt on the windowsill. I took a closer look and realized that they were footprints. The prince led into the tower and then disappeared. Returning to my easel, I began to clean up my paints and brushes. I accidentally knocked over a bucket of brushes only to spot the same footprints in some of the paint. That's strange, I thought. After cleaning up my easel, I began to clean the kitchen. As I picked up my rolling pin, I noticed the same footprints on a pile of flour. Something strange was going on. Can you see the footprints? Right there? Over the next few days, I repeated the same 3 activities: painting, baking, and gardening. When I worked on my painting, I purposefully spilled a little paint. When I baked, I left out some flour. And whenever I gardened, I sprinkled a little extra dirt on the floor. I wanted to see if the prince would reappear, and they always did. Over the next few months, I spent a lot of time practicing my hobbies. Soon, I became quite good at painting and baking and gardening. But I still didn't know who was making the footprints. I hoped whoever it was would reveal themselves soon. One day, as I was picking some strawberries to make a pie, I noticed an odd-shaped berry. I reached out to grab it, then suddenly it changed colors from red to green. Looking down, I realized that it wasn't a strangely shaped berry after all. It was a small green baby chameleon. He looked up at me with his big eyes shaking nervously. I laughed. "So you're the one who's been leaving little footprints everywhere," I said cheerfully. The little chameleon seemed to give me a nod. But could I convince him to stay? Or would he not want to be my friend, like the butterfly and the bee and the birds? "My name is Rapunzel," I said softly. "I'll call you Pascal." With a smile, I cut a piece of cake and offered it to the little chameleon. "Would you like to have some cake with me?" Pascal nodded. He would never say no to cake. I smiled to myself. I was happy to finally have a friend and some company in the tower. And that's the end of the story. Thanks for listening and have a nice day, everyone.